But it's another day and another deadline. Dozens of countries have before the clock strikes 12 a.m. Eastern to reach an agreement on trade. If they don't, they'll be hit with tariffs between the range of 15 to 20%. And that's starting tomorrow. President Trump, he and his team at the White House, they say they have been working for months now to get deals on the table. So we want to take a look at where things stand with a few of our top trading partners. So sixth on the list is South Korea. The president says a deal with that country was reached just yesterday. They will face a 15% tariff, but that's actually lower than the 25% tariff the U.S. suggested earlier this month. That same 15% goes for Japan. They are the United States' fifth largest trading partner. And moving up that list to Mexico, we know the president just wrapped up a phone call with the Mexican president, and he's calling that conversation, quote, very successful. And in Canada, the president says it will be very hard to make a deal there. And that is because Canada, they mentioned that they are willing to recognize Palestine as a state come September. Let's bring in CBS News White House reporter Olivia Rinaldi. Olivia, thank you for joining us today, because earlier the president had a phone call with Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum. What did we learn from that conversation?
Yeah, Mugo, certainly an enlightening conversation that the president had with the leader of Mexico today. This comes as that August 1st deadline tomorrow is staring the United States down, and they're trying to make all of these trade deals before they get to that point. So the president announced that they had made an extension of the trade deal with Mexico that they had in place previously. The president posted on True Social they agreed to extend for a 90-day period the same exact deal they had for a short period of time previously, and that includes that Mexico will continue to pay a 25% fentanyl tariff. That's what the president had put in place earlier this year. That's related to the flow of fentanyl across the border. In addition, there will be a 25% tariff on cars, 50% on steel, aluminum, and copper. And additionally, Mexico has agreed to terminate any non-tariff trade barriers with trade with the United States. The president also noted in this True Social post that the negotiations with Mexico, as opposed to other countries, are complicated. They're more complicated for the United States because of the border that we share. The president said there are both problems and assets as it comes to the U.S.-Mexico border, and as a result, this trade deal is kind of different than what they're going to have to make when it comes to other countries thinking of that August 1st deadline tomorrow. So as a result, there's another 90-day extension. So take 90 days from today. We'll put it on the calendar and we'll be back here talking about what's the potential deal that will be made between the U.S. and Mexico as this White House looks to really reset global trade.
Yeah, and I think, Olivia, it's important to note here that the plan in the first place was supposed to be 90 deals in 90 days. That clearly did not happen. So what has the White House said about not achieving that goal?
Well, the White House is certainly celebrating what they've been able to do. They have so far announced frameworks with South Korea, United Kingdom, Philippines, Japan, Indonesia, the European Union, Vietnam. Certainly his team has been hard at work having these negotiations, but as we have talked about and stressed about continuously, tariff negotiations and resetting trade are conversations that take months. So when you're having it in this really condensed timeline and you want to do it with all of the countries that trade with the U.S., that's a tall task for that team that is doing the negotiations. But still, the White House is celebrating what they've been able to do so far. But Mugo, there are still some outstanding trade deals that need to be made, namely with India. The president yesterday called them out in a True Social post, saying that they have some of the most strict non-tariff trade barriers for U.S. products in that country. He also called them out for their use of Russian energy. Now, that is tied to the war in Ukraine and the president trying to get an end to that war and asking them to stop buying Russian oil and gas. So that's certainly where the U.S. will be looking next for some sort of trade deal. We also have that behemoth of a trade deal with China that this White House is trying to figure out how to reset trade with China come August 12th, which is another deadline that we're watching. So yep. Our calendars are very busy with these deadlines, and the White House certainly is trying to get some of these deals on the table and resolved before these dates that they have set.
Yeah, and we'll see what happens, especially come tomorrow, August 1st. Olivia, thank you so much for your time today. We appreciate it.